We have seen that most of the university students and pre-tertiary learners have been at home for some time now. So we as Black Management Forum Student Chapter Gauteng, we have decided that we want to try and seek solutions as to what can be done in future for homeschooling, because we have seen that the kids, they've been at home for some time now, and we really don't know what the future will hold for us. So having to come up with this thing to say, I think homeschooling for us is going to be a future moving forward, because we really don't know what's really happening and what's going to happen in future. So now, moving forward, so we are having Mr. Mamponga in our platform. So our guest speaker for us, our guest speaker has spent years in corporate, the religious and social space. A time has made him own a tightly creative powerhouse. There are those who think inside the box, there are those who think outside the box, and there are those who breaks the box and think. So he's one of those who breaks the box and think. He lives and breathes change. His dynamic thinking has surely broken social, religious, economic, and national boundaries. Bishop Mamponga J is the CEO of the Institute Farmers of Thought, a core business, a consciousness, and improve the quality of human experiences than the quantity of days. He's the pragmatic African citizen with a global view, think globally, and act locally, as he says it. He plays dozens of musical instruments. He's an author, life coach, and social entrepreneur. Indeed, he's the man of no limitations. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome for you to Bishop Mamponga J. So, once again, leadership, Bishop, good afternoon, sir, and it's good to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Well, sometimes when people read your CV, it doesn't sound like you, but it's okay. The concept of 4IR, which is the Fourth Industrial Revolution, coupled with the word education, I think it's a misnomer. The two don't go together, because 4IR is limited, whereas education, it is broad. It will be amazing to see us beginning to talk about 4IR when our culture, when our indigeneity has not yet even moved to 1IR. Maybe what I needed the conversation to pitch on is a clear definition of the first industrial revolution, what was in it and what happened into it. Goes to the second, goes to the third, goes to the fourth. We will have failed as academicians, we will have failed as philosophers and students to focus at targeting 4IR in terms of education. Yet, after 4IR, we are building systems that are not adaptable in 5IR. So I want to challenge your students, since you are good students, that we all write papers on 7IR. We all write papers on the 7th Industrial Revolution. I've already written mine, which I can share with you. Then we consolidate, because this 7IR becomes the ultimate goal, so that if there are systems which need to be built, if there are intelligences that needs to be established, if there are environmental issues that need to be debated, if there are organic issues that need to be preserved, the knowledge system must not limit itself to solving the present problem, but to catapult from the past to the present and gallop into the future. A great miscarriage of our institutions. We are taught problem solving. But when you are solving a problem, you are creating another problem. So how about not just teaching us problem solving, but we do what we call, scenario plays, scenario education. In the event this happens and this happens, what may happen, what may happen. Then we move away from what I want to term a reactive education to a reflective educational form. Reactive in that you only wait until there's a problem. Now there's no school, what must we do? Now there's corona, what must we do? We are reacting to a problem. How about we become reflective towards the problem? This is to focus at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years, if not 1,000, if our minds can allow us to stretch that far. Then my definition, therefore, will not be circled around for all IRA. I wrote a definition for 7 IRA, which reads thus: the 7th Industrial Revolution. That's where the African lived before civilization. That's where the Khoisan, the Hottentots, and the Aborigines are, semicolon. 7th Industrial Revolution. It's when you manufacture nothing. It's where you own nothing, but you have everything. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Bishop. Thank you very much. So we're just gonna check with a couple of from our viewers if they have questions for you, and then we move forward. However, we have seen that in the current moment leadership, we're having problem with this COVID-19 thing. So I'll just ask from my side, and then we'll also take from our viewers as well the questions. So in terms of having to try to find a solution in terms of understanding that there's a coronavirus now, and students they've been at home for some time now, and there's nothing that seems to be happening. And even if you have seen the government has tried to implement some amendments there and there in terms of assisting with the education itself, but it hasn't been that successful because we still have other kids and other university students at home currently. So what I'm trying to bring forward to you, Mr. Mampoa, as the question is that what is it that we can actually try to do, like in the current moment, and perhaps it can be implemented in future as well, in terms of trying to implement this homeschooling thingy.
There is a budget and a department in the government called disaster management. And in that disaster management department, I think it is fast asleep, because it is the department that thinks, as I was presenting, that thinks of solutions in a forward look. We would have failed as students to discuss corona because it's an immediate reflection. How about we discuss a pandemic? How about we discuss atomic and nuclear leakages? We know America right now is carrying around nuclear bombs. China and North Korea are also playing around with nuclear bombs. We don't know if South Africa has nuclear bombs. It takes one reckless person to leave the valve open, and we are looking at the whole world over contaminated by atomic materials.
Yes.
I'm putting as a scenario. After we have fixed the problem of corona, the question is the real question: do we have capacity to deal with conflict, controversy, war, epidemics, and pandemics, so that the focus itself remains on the global view of the problem? I'm afraid to zoom in and deal with corona issues. Then I'm beginning to debate classrooms. I'm beginning to debate sanitizers and towels and taxis. And towels and taxis are not what we're looking at. We're looking at a system that is built to deal with a barrage of problems vis-a-vis a constellation of solutions about the very issues that have constricted the African growth, if that makes sense to you, sir.
Yeah, no, definitely, Mr. Mampoa. In closure, Sam, I would like to get the way conclusion from your side as to Now, when we close these live videos, and then we need to now challenge the Department of Higher Education as well as the government. What is it that we need to submit to them to say, this is what we need moving forward as well as for future? This is what we need from you guys, because we have seen that now, if we are facing with challenges like this, we can't cope as the country. So now, having to move forward, if something like this were to come, were to face something like this in future, what is it that we need? What is it that we need? Here is the list of the things that we need from you guys, and then from there on, we move forward. So I'd like you to just give me a closure of the solutions that we actually need, and then that will be it. Thank you. Over to you, leadership.
Firstly, I think if we are to submit something, then a proper workshop must be designed where we can design and write around a couple of issues. Then you can carry them forward. But the content of my arguments are around the quality of education that we are giving out, which is a classroom-based education, which is a Eurocentric format of education, which takes a child away from home for 8 hours for the next 25 years before they become a doctor. And with such an education that is totally annihilated or totally disjoined from the learner and experience, we needed to start having an education that actually can be done within the confines of home. Then internet connection becomes an issue, and equality of fathers and parenting becomes another issue. And then the question is also the software issue of converting the present education formats into the home-based experiential education. And so you're looking at quite a number of factors that need to look into that. But over and above that is it's not just taking soft copies of the same European education and uploading them on another platform. Basically, you're moving a virus to a cleaner environment where it can start contaminating again. This now speaks to you as students. This speaks to you as professors to say we needed to go back to the universities, all the universities in the country, and identify those black doctorates, documents that have been done, researches that have been done locally and internationally. This includes Harvard, this includes Massachusetts, Cambridge, University of Osborne, Lisbon, Australia, wherever a black author has done something. I wish some of you guys who are into professional stuff could take some of these challenges seriously. You have a consolidated database, just the database of black professionals around the world who have done breaking inventions, breaking researches, breaking doctorates. Have that information classified. This is for history, this is for geography, this is for physics, this is for chemistry, this is for agriculture, this is for biology, this is for pharmacology, that's for toxicology, that's for and you cluster for yourselves as Africans a new hub of knowledge and information, technologies and researches. Some of those researches, because they were done by black people, they will never be implemented by Europeans. So we may as well take those doctrines and implement them in our own societies. How to recycle water, how to plantations, midwifery. I've looked at some of those catalogs. Amazing information that you'll find that is out there. So maybe my biggest challenge is not necessarily to the government. If it is to the government, let it be for funding. But this needs brains. This needs a proper workshop where a group of committed young people who still think they'll be alive 40 years from now, 50 years from now, to make impact. Come around while I'm still alive. We share some of these ideas. We package some of your masters and doctorates into these research centers. Your government cannot help you. They read the wrong books. There's nothing they can do except to photocopy those books and put them back on the hands of the students. Buy iPads and then photocopy William Shakespeare back to the same iPad. So for me, we needed to look at it like thinkers. like proper thinkers, step slightly away from the box and the system, and have an eagle view at the problem, and to speak quite a variety of issues that can inform an entire department. Then we can go to the government and say, we have 2 students in the Department of Commerce. Their study is black economy and what worldwide. We have 2 students in farming. Their study is indigenous seeds and indigenous plantations. We have 2 students in culture. Their plan is to study African migration and you give all these students in all the various departments a clear mandate, 2, 3 to 4 of them in case one dies. Then they dig up those resources. That becomes your curriculum, as if you want to change the system of education. For me, that becomes your curriculum, where then you can package that information into the various aspects of your classrooms. Your entertainment then draws from your education. That's where your cartoons, your movies, and then what and what. You are actually re-engineering the society from the software to the outside, which I think right now, many of you young people, you want to fix the paint of the car, but you don't know how to fix and build a new engine. And so for me, I would like to challenge BMF at a more serious note to a more strategic planning session where we can think through some of these issues I'm saying. I hope the conversation is recorded. Please stenograph it from voice to paper, cascade all those issues together. Let's have a place where we can begin the next conversation.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, definitely, I hear you very well, Mr. Mampong, and I so believe that our viewers are also listening to you and they can hear you clearly. So we have some questions from our viewers. So Itumeleng, please share some of the questions with us, leadership.
Okay, we have one question here from Muleti Makosazana, a student at the University of Pretoria. The question reads as follows. Mr. Maponga, don't you feel like that it's a little bit too late to continue with the academic calendar for basic education? What is your view on that?
The issue, again, if you are in the business of planting vegetables, you will never eat fruits because fruits don't grow on vegetables. And I think we need to start looking at long-term solutions. Yes, it's late. It takes us a 7-year cycle break where we can implement a new program now. And in 7 years from now, we can see the impact of those. It is, again, a Eurocentric mindset that says don't solve anything because you don't have time to do that. That's why we are in this mess, because people want the banks to continue the way they are continuing. They want insurance to continue the way it's continuing. Education continue the way it's continuing. The farmers and the farmers union, the buying cartels, nothing changes. Because it's not a corona problem we are looking at. This is a national problem where we never want to deal with long-term solutions. We always want to come up with the painkiller solutions, which are short-term. Short-term. Take the energy you have now to correct the elementary academic institutions, employ that energy in changing the education system. You need frustration. You need frustration to evolve and change. Until you are frustrated, you never think like a man. One with a boy may never behave himself until a woman says, I'm carrying your child. Then all of a sudden, a reckless boy discovers he's going to be a father. So we needed a shock in the system that can cause us to think plurally, extensively, with a forward focus. I don't have answers for corona and short-term issues, but if students and professionals want to think, I am available to stretch that.
No, I think you have said it very clear, Mr. Mampoga, that we need to start now planning for the future, because this thing of trying to amend things, using things, perhaps trying to adapt to the Eurocentric of doing things, it's clearly not working for us, indeed. Even if you see the system of education that we have, it's not that proper and it doesn't give us anything. You find that students, when they leave universities, they look for job instead of creating jobs. So that should tell you that the system of our education, it's really a bad, what you call this, it's not that good at all. Not that good at all leadership. So now, as you have said, moving forward, we really need to find a long-term solution as to what we as South Africans at large, we need to do in order for us to change the way of doing things and make sure that we actually survive and we move forward with our own way of doing things. So I best believe that you have said it all, Mr. Mamponga. Just for the last time, let me check with our facilitator if we still have more questions. If
And
not,
while they're picking up the question there, just something
Yes.
I wanted to share in parting is if we are looking at the future of education for the students, the issue we are discussing is education, but I think that's a wrong conversation. The issue is the technology of education. The issue is the hardware of the technology of education. So if we are looking at the future of homeschooling being technological, good, then you come back one step backwards. Who is manufacturing the software for that education? Then back to number one, who is manufacturing the hardware for that software, for that classroom? Then you can even come back further and say, as South Africa, are we ready right now to convert some of our industries into providing the local hardware, computers, screens, and everything else like they do in China? Let's produce it locally, then it becomes cheaper for us. After producing that, then what type of software are we putting onto these hardwares? Then question number three, now, who is the student? Where do we take this information to? Again, I see it in a progressive way, that before you can get to a solution, you needed to have thought through the process from the problem so that your approach becomes much more sustainable. It creates employment, it creates jobs, it harvests your indigenous knowledge, it packages it locally, it translates it into local languages. The advantages are plural. Hence, this kind of thinking allows you as a participant of life to process your things so that you can get the necessary outcome.
Yeah. No, you have said it all, Mr. Mamponga. So now, just one more question from myself, because I see our facilitator is saying we no longer have questions from our audience. So I just want to know, Mr. Mamponga, and understand, in terms of having to understand that Africa, it is where it is today because of the past things that it has happened, like having been colonized by the European countries. So now we have seen that Africa is the most poorest continent in the world, where else it is rich itself underground. So now my question is that since we are in this unequal society, Mr. Mamponga, having to find that we've got people who are living in the likes of Sentin, and you have people who are living as far as from Kandla, and understanding that people from Sentin, their kids will be able to get all these things. They will be more accessible to the things of technology. And where you find that in Kandla, their kids, they don't even know a smartphone, how it looks like. So now, in that situation, how do we then bridge the gap between the two, Mr. Mamponga?
You're using a rather difficult template to compare education with wellness and well-being. That an iPhone does not define life when the quality of air you are breathing is bad. Sentient life is nothing if you spend the rest of your years on a ventilation machine because of the poor health systems and diets that are there. So I would not go that direction of using a tool of colonial expectations to measure development. I want us to look at life in a holistic fashion. Then the life in Kanga should be proud if that's his choice and he enjoys that life. Democracy must allow him to become that. and the one in Sandton is also happy to be there, then freedom of choice is for me, we don't have to again to classify each other. And then the issue of freedom is to allow everyone to have access to the resources that they want and develop themselves in the direction that they want to go. But to bridge the gap, actually, I think to bridge the gap, we need to pull some of the people who think that they are forward, and we bring them back. Because in the midst of running forward, they are running without health, they are running without marriages, they are running without ethics, they are running with books, and inside they are empty. They are causing suicide, divorce rates are high, they are making children everywhere. So I don't even think that they are ahead. In them being ahead simply means they have resources to abuse those that don't have as much as they do. So to bridge the gap, I think we needed to slow down a little bit. Some of us who think they're educated, step back a little bit, take your education back to the village and use your education to improve local knowledge systems. Let's go up together as a continent. Let's not be in the same competition of I'm ahead of you, you are behind me. Let's say we go together. We go together. You're an accountant, go back to the village. Find those who don't know how to do accounting. Help those businesses. As about Koko, who cannot even read and write. Help them to bank. Help them to get insurance. So you have already improved 25 businesses. When they are now making 30,000 rand each, can they fail to pay you 500 rand a month for their retainer fees? So again, you see, even from the simple illustration I'm giving you, that as young people, we are not educated. We are not educated because our education takes us away from the community instead of our education bringing us into the community. So to bridge the gap, I would suggest those that think now that they know, please step back a little bit. Empower those that are behind you who don't know. When you develop those that are behind you, your level of success becomes more sustainable.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. Well said, Mr. Mamponga. Thank you very much. I best believe that our viewers are happy and they've got everything that you have unpacked. So
thank you, sir.
Speedy recovery from yourself, Mr. Mamponga. And thank you very much and God bless you, sir.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
So leadership eating.
Yes, Busiso.
Yes, in closure leadership. Please close it for us and then thank for our viewers as well.
Okay. To all student chapter viewers in Gauteng and also other provinces as well, because I am aware that our fellow leaders from other provinces are also part of the engagement. We'd like to say thank you for being patient in being patient with us since we started late, and to Mr. Bishop Maponga and his office, we thank you, sir, for the robust engagement, even though it was short. But I believe our viewers and also the students, they had a lot to learn and gather. And we also look forward to more engagements in the future, as you have correctly stated, Mr. Maponga. And to the BMF head office, Mr. Monde Ndlovu and Mr. Itumeleng Mkiri, we also thank you. And also Mamelo, our coordinator, thank you for ensuring that we are able to use this platform in order to engage our students from home and not on campus, keeping safe from this coronavirus. Yeah, thank you, leaders.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you very much, leaders. Thank you very much, our members as well, for tuning in, guys. We can definitely assure you that moving forward, we can do more together. And as we are trying to come up with new ways of doing things, we'll definitely be in touch with you and inform you moving forward in terms of what is it that we'll be doing next, as well as also plan ahead for future, because now you have seen that things are not that easy for us since we can't do things in the normal way of doing things in our lecture halls, in our lecture rooms, and so forth. So moving forward, I best believe that we'll be using this platform to host our events, as well as be in touch with you in all our social platforms. So apologies again for having started late, and apologies again for having not to have so much time that we wanted with Mr. Mamponga, because he's not feeling well, like you also saw, like he's at the clinic, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you once again, and God bless you. Keep in touch. So thank you.